So I need more money. Said that the other night. Some guy goes, money can't buy you happiness. I'd like to do my own research on that. Someone's always got to say that, though. I don't know, it's just self-righteous or whatever. Money can't buy you happiness. Money can't buy you happiness. Okay, but can I be sad in a nicer apartment? That's what I want. I want to be sad in a nice... I have a tiny apartment. And you got to walk 5 flights of stairs to get to it. Yeah. Yes, 5 flights of stairs to get to a tiny apartment. So it's exhausting, then disappointing. It's like taking a really long, hot bus trip to Denny's.
Hey, it's a ride into spring here at WRJN. Our text to win statewide contest. Your chance to win a Chula Vista getaway as well as grand prizes, including a bike, blender, even patio furniture, love seat, the whole works. Now, the keyword this hour is trip. The password is trip. I always wanted to say it like that announcer. The keyword is trip. Okay, download the Civic Media app in the Apple or Google stores. Find your station, which is WRJN, of course. Use the text button to send the keyword trip for your chance to win in the statewide contest. Again, the keyword is trip. Find WRJN on the Civic Media app and use the text button to send the keyword right now. And by the way, we were on a Zoom meeting yesterday with the other stations, and they're all beating us in the amount of people. Yeah, so...
No.
Yeah, well, they're not all beating us, but most of them are, and they're bragging about it, which really ticked me off. So anyway, what I want you to do is I want you to go to get the Civic Media app downloaded, find WRJN, and type in today's keyword. The keyword is trip. Listen every day at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m. all this week for your chance to win that overnight stay at Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. And be entered to win one of the 2 grand prizes, including bikes, outdoor patio furniture, a blender, and more. Don't forget, download the Civic Media app. Look for WRJN and type in the keyword. The keyword is trip. All right? Get that in there so we can beat all the other stations in this statewide contest. Played this earlier. I want to hear it again. I liked it. I hope this is the right one, though.
Carl Reiner, Regis Stillman, Adams, Schlesinger, Wilford Brinley, Jerry Studer, Kirk Douglas, Luder, Richard, David Stern, Kobe Bryant, and Joel Schumacher. Tiger King, Tom Hanks, keep up, stand up, pulling pranks, Cotton in the New York Times, beats the king of Staten Island, Logan Paul, Cuomo's nips, Burr and Lafler got the tips, Uncle Ben's photo with an edge of mama, goodbye.
All right, that's enough of that song. It was not the right one.
Oh, no.
No, I had to stop it. Not the right one. All right, Denise Lockwood is here, and we're talking about a whole bunch of things. You've got some local news stories you're working on. I want to get your opinion on some of the national stuff going on. And there's something with the Associated Press has been the bastion of news gathering for years, and now some big news organizations are saying goodbye to the Associated Press. What's that about?
That's a good question. That is a very good question.
Okay, so we're next. Okay, so Racine County Eye, for people that aren't familiar with it, and I believe a lot of people are, but some people may not be. Why don't you backstep on that a little bit? Give us a little deal on that. What's going on?
Absolutely. So I'm Denise Lockwood. I own the Racine County Eye news website. I've been a journalist for 25 years. Started the news website back in 2013 after my editors told me they couldn't. Journalism. The industry has been really wonky for a really long time. I mean, when you look statistically across the United States, 80% of the newsrooms that existed in 2008 are gone. And so a lot of us who got laid off over time were just like, well, we'll start our own thing. They think, and so that's what we did is I started the news website with Heather Osiambi, my partner in crime. She was the Mount Pleasant Sturtevant Patch editor. I was formerly the Caledonia Patch.
Is that still around, Patch?
Technically, it's owned by a venture capital group, which has all sorts of other feelings across the industry. So there's been some interesting things going on around that that would probably make paint drying a little more interesting. But from a journalistic standpoint,
that was big at one time.
It was very big, and we started the Patch websites here. Heather and I did, and we really enjoyed our time at Patch, so much so that we started a company together in 2013. And then Heather's like, "Hey, so this full-time day job, nighttime Racine County Eye job, I'm going to need to tap out for a while." But she came back. She came back a few years ago, and so I've got a staff of, so I've got 4 people on payroll, and then I've got another 5. I just hired a 6th person to start really helping us fill out a lot more political coverage, because we're kind of we are doubling down on like really strong issue-oriented pieces and really covering politics in a better way than is viable for a lot of news organizations. So that's what we're doing, and it's been an interesting spring, I can tell you, friends, and winter. It's been very interesting. The gifts just keep coming. As far as they're not gifts. They're stories, and they're stories that are very valuable to keep telling. And there's nuance, and it just keeps getting more interesting every day.
Now, you've been working on the Raymond School District story.
Very much so. Heather and I have both been tag teaming on it.
Okay, what's the latest with that?
So we just had a candidate forum last week in person, and the whole thing is been shifted towards the finances of the school district, but there's still not litigation, but there's an EEOC complaint that is still out there with discrimination allegations from the former principal of Raymond, who happens to be a man who is gay, and he is alleging some discrimination instances that he feels that the school district wrongful. It's like a wrongful termination, but it hasn't gotten to that litigation standpoint yet. So they're working through that. There's some grievances I know that have been filed. But one of the biggest pieces of news that actually you're going to get a little new news out of me today. We're going to have a story very, very soon around the finances, because a lot of the political takeover from the school board have caused a lot of legal issues. So they're short. The superintendent announced last week that they are about $500,000 short in their budget in preparing for the next year's budget. So that is going to be an issue. And there was some talk of going to an operational referendum. The reason for the shortfall is a myriad of reasons, not just the superintendent, but the legal costs. They're paying, or not superintendent, I keep saying superintendent, it's actually the principal, but they're paying for 2 superintendents, 2 principals. They've got legal fees from the EEOC complaint. They've got legal fees from the group that is pushing back on the transparency of how the school district is operating. It's a whole smattering of different things, and it's one of those stories that is not going to go away anytime soon.
How does this stuff get started?
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I don't remember any problems in my school district. There was never a problem. Nobody ever complained about anything. We needed a new wing on a school. They did it. They needed a new high school. They built it.
Well, this has been brewing. The context, the rift between, and I've covered enough 25 years worth of school districts in southeastern Wisconsin. So the tension between parents, schools, and administration has been a ongoing issue for many, many years. And a lot of it is budgets. A lot of it is teacher staffing, keeping teachers on, the Act 10 decisions that had profound issues around morale of how we're teaching, what we're teaching, the role of school, I think is very much a bigger question now. And it also raises the larger question of what is public school? Because in Raymond, 1 out of every 3 kids is not living in Raymond. So you have a lot more kids coming from Racine Unified and other school districts, but really it's raising a lot of question around what is public school. And so for a lot of people living in Raymond, it's Raymond School is for Raymond parents only. And so a few months ago, they limited open enrollment to 6 children they will accept in the fall, in addition to the ones that they already have. And so there's this kind of bubbling off, this is for us, not you, kind of narrative that is definitely coming up. So that's the Reader's Digest version, friends.
I know in Racine schools, they get rid of virtual learning now for K through, I forget what it is. This just happened this week, where they're going to get rid of that virtual learning program. Ran out of money. Don't have the money.
Yeah. So, and there's also probably some staffing issues. I'm hearing about some staffing cuts. A lot of this is tied to, the recovery from COVID is not as strong. You also had a huge, massive influx of money into these school districts that were relying a lot of that on that money from it's the ESSER funds. It's ESSR, and that was supposed to help school districts be okay and adapt to the realities of virtual school in relationship to COVID. So that's one of the reasons why they're adapting that. I don't know. I've been kind of tunnel visioned for the last few weeks only because my dad was in the hospital and so I had to go run home to Ohio to hang out with Pa Lockwood.
Is his name Paul?
No. It's my dad's name is Hal. I'm saying Pa.
Where did they get Paul?
P-A.
I said
Paul.
Paul.
I know. I wasn't enunciating. My speech team training failed me this morning because I have not had enough coffee yet, friend.
Oh, I knew it would come back to me. I knew I'd get the blame for this thing. I don't know how I was going to work around it. Hold on. Denise Lockwood's here from Racine County Eye at 719 WRJN. We're looking for some rain and thunderstorms in our forecast today with a high near 53. Cloudy rain tonight, lows 28, and sunshine finally. Highs near 41 degrees tomorrow. WRJN, a Civic.
¿Cómo pudiese olvidar? Last night I dreamt of San Pedro, just like I'd never gone. I knew the song, a young girl with eyes like the desert. It all seems like yesterday, not far away, tropically.
721 at WRJN Radio. Denise Lockwood, Racine County Eye is here. Here, Jerry Seinfeld is now a billionaire.
Really?
He's a billionaire now. I thought he was a billionaire already, but I guess he wasn't. You say billionaire today. I could win the Mega Millions tomorrow and be a billionaire instantly.
Well, good luck with that.
I know. I bought my ticket. I only buy tickets when it hits $1 billion. Anyway, so Jerry, I think I told you once before, Jerry and I grew up together as kids.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I only knew about, you told me about the crime folks from your hometown.
Oh, the Gambino crime family?
Yeah,
they live there too. Yeah, but Jerry and I were like childhood friends, like 5, 6 years old. I mean, 7 years old. Up till about 13, and then he moved to a different part of town and got better friends and didn't need me anymore.
Aww.
No, that's not. His family, his mom and dad, sister, very sweet people. His dad was a great guy, very funny guy. His dad was a sign painter, and he painted all the signs for my brother's band. We had this U-Haul we bought, and Cal Seinfeld, did all the artwork on it. But he always used to put a little picture of himself on there.
Oh, that's cute.
On all his stuff. It was always... If he didn't have room for a picture, he just signed it. but it was a scribble signature. I knew what it was. So had I known Jerry was going to be a billionaire someday, I might have stayed in contact with him.
You might. You never know.
Yeah, but at 5 and 6 years old, who knows?
Right?
So anyway. All right, so we're talking about some of the stories going on. One of the big stories in the state is the Robin Vos recall. I know that because I see signs everywhere, recall Vos. The people who had to get, 10,000 signatures or something like that. I forget what the amount was.
It's almost 7,000 that they had to get.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
But they got more than they had to.
Right.
But so many are so fraudulent that it's no good anymore. Don't they check these things out?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the storylines we're going to be working pretty hard on, and we're working on it on it right now as we speak. So where we're at with this is there's a couple of different things. There's the Racine County District Attorney Tricia Hansen has started an investigation into the validity of these signatures. Now let me frame this for you, Mr. Rosen. So Robin Vos's own name is showing up on his Recall Vos petition. Also, a fellow by the name of Preston Kite, who was a Racine County Sheriff's deputy, who was charged with some felony charges recently. His name was on it. There's a lot. We've been digging into this pretty hard, but I think one of the context of some of this story is twofold. One is this brings up the control of the Trump administration, or not the Trump administration, but Trump's campaign on this election. So you had a fellow by the name is Conrad, and you know what? I do not have enough coffee, and I'm having one of those moments. He was a colonel. He's from Arkansas. He was put in charge of the Robin Recall Vos campaign, and so you had Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. He campaigned for or rallied for this campaign because of the allegations around election voter fraud, which were unfounded in Wisconsin, but this was also very much a retaliation against Vos for not getting rid of the Wisconsin Elections Commission director Megan Wolf. And so this is the stage that is being set for the November election. And ironically, the recall is an interesting move by them, primarily because Robin is up for re-election this fall anyway.
I mean, they always have me feeling bad for the guy. I mean, and I don't feel bad for Robin Vos, but I almost felt bad that all these fraudulent signatures were on there. There are people. There's a website I guess you can go to see if your name's on it.
Yes, yes, there is one, and so that's one of the things that we're actually working on. As far as kind of identifying some of the people of who hired the question we're trying to really flesh out is who hired the firm, and I'm not going to say who it is because I've got to verify, and I'm a really big fan of that, and you guys all want me to do that, but we're trying to map out who it is that they hired. And so if anybody's listening who knows who hired and who the actual company was, I need to talk to you. Primarily because I want to really map out what happened in this process, because they collected 10,000 signatures. And if you look at the map of where people they were all over the state of Wisconsin collecting signatures to recall Robin Vos, whose district is very small. It's like basically roughly western Racine County.
And so now the recall is dead. They don't have the number of signatures.
Right.
Now they're going to. They wanted to recall them, but it's up for the election's coming up anyway.
Yeah. So
what a waste of time.
Well, it begs the question of why.
They wanted the publicity of it, I'm sure.
Yes, and so there are two. What's interesting to me, and so these are things that raise questions, right? So you have a group called Hot Government, and then you have the Robin Recall Robin Vos group, right? And so these are two different groups, but my press releases come from the same person, and the same people that are not most of the same people that are part of hot government are part of the Recall Robin Vos campaign. And so I want to understand, how did we get here? And so we're going to be digging into that over the next couple of days.
Boy, all this crime busting going on. They still have I thought there was a rule that after your thing was over, you had to take down the yard signs, but I still see them all over town. Recall Voss. It's dead. I mean, they're not going to recall him. You know, I still see that picture of the guy carrying those Tupperware containers of the signatures and everything
Right.
in there with such a smug look on his face. Like,
Matt
I
Snork.
got... what's that?
Matt Snork is his
Yeah,
name.
he's just very smug looking. I got it right here. Well, you should have looked at the signatures first. Forget everybody else who didn't sign. Robert Voss's signature's there. Didn't you notice that thing when you brought it in? Didn't you think people were going to check this stuff over?
Well, and this is one of the things that the press releases, and I literally just got one probably about 20 minutes ago, too. So they're using this as a platform also to talk about why didn't Tricia Hansen and the state look into the voter fraud allegations, because the Racine County Sheriff Christopher Schmeling, he brought up these questions around collecting signatures in assisted living facilities. And so that was never resolved, and they're using that as a way to kind of resurge this question of, are our elections honest?
Remember the movie just out recently, Godzilla -1, was in theaters?
No,
Oh.
I do not.
Anyway.
I have very small tunnel vision right now, and it's only politics.
You're Denise Lockwood, minus coffee.
Right.
This morning, it's 7:29 WRJN, hometown radio refreshed, a civic media station where you can expect some rain and thunderstorms today. Highs near 53, cloudy, rain and thunder buffers again tonight, lows 28, but sunshine tomorrow with a high near 41.
Jello, you know what they make Jello out of? Bones and hooves. I always thought that was an urban legend. Bones and hooves. What kind of madman?
Let me have the bones and hooves. I've got an idea for a kid's dessert. It'll be huge. We'll get Cosby to do the commercials. Everyone trusts him. Anyone using the eyeballs, I can make an abacus. I've got tons of ideas.
They say laughter is the best medicine, and it is after you've received real medicine from a real medical professional. Prior to that, you don't want any laughter. You don't want a doctor giggling during an exam.
Oh my gosh, this is your body? Oh, nice man boobs.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Just tell Denise, this song was originally called Good Riddance. Then in parentheses, Time of Your Life. He wrote this because his girlfriend took off to Ecuador or some country with an E, and he was ticked off at her, so he wrote this song. Most songs are written about breakups and people you're ticked off at. I mean, Taylor Swift made a whole career of writing songs about breakups with her boyfriend. I mean,
Pain and joy, man.
I mean, she's
Pain
got a
and
whole-
joy. Yeah.
what was the... That was the show I was watching, and the guy wrote a song about the breakup, and he was all upset about it. And the guy said, "Hey, 11 more breakups. You got an album."
Right?
There's truth in that. I think we have news here, but hold on a second. Seeing this is a news segment we're talking about. Do we have it yet? No, we don't have it yet. Stuart promised me he would be here. All right, it's not here. Okay, so let's talk about... I watched 60 Minutes the other day, and I haven't seen 60 Minutes in decades. I just, for some reason, didn't watch it. But this one caught my ear and eyes, and it was about the misinformation on websites, social media, and the internet. And they took examples and put them up there. There was a video somebody posted on one of the social media sites, and it showed tanks coming into Texas on the border. It was nice, except it was Central America. It was Chile. It wasn't Texas. But you couldn't tell that from watching this, clip of tanks coming in. It looked like it was Chile. There was another one they showed is some soldiers killing people, and they said it was the Israelis killing the Palestinians.
I see.
And it wasn't that. It was not even that part of the world. It was a different part of the world.
Yeah, I see this as such a massive problem. But, one of the things that I really wanted to kind of interject into this conversation around social media and truth and fact finding. So, when I started when we started the news website 10 years ago, we got 90% of our traffic from Facebook. Okay. Now I get 3%. Unless I pay $100 per story to.
Whoa.
Yes, this is a very relatively new thing, but we in the industry knew it was coming. So Facebook has literally deprecated its news feature. They took the news tab off of the menu of choices to experience Facebook. So we're seeing a lot of drop in how much people are interacting. The other thing is that election information. So in Racine County Eye, we had candidate bios for every candidate that we had a contested race in east of the interstate, right? And in order for me to elevate that content, it would cost me $100 every single story. And so people need to understand that when you have a platform, any type of platform, you're getting the version of that story as that platform determines you to see that.
But, I don't think people are as stupid as some people think. I really don't think so. So when they say, well, the Russians are putting fake stories on the internet and they're trying to sway the vote, are you that stupid to know that you can't believe anything you read on social media? It's not.
Well, now you're not getting anything. Especially from a local news standpoint, that was one of my main platforms for a really long time. Now, luckily, our industry...
So you went on, do you put stuff on, you had a news thing on Facebook?
Oh, yeah. We have 27,000 people on our Facebook page on the Racine County Eye.
And they want how much from you to do that?
Every story they want, in order for me to access the audience I built, it's $100 per story.
You go bankrupt.
Yeah. Yeah. But one of the things that we're doing, from an industry standpoint, and I'll let this part go, but I wanted to bring it up because we realized very early on, probably about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, when Facebook announced this move, was that we couldn't rely on social media to distribute our news. And that's one of the reasons why I need people to go to RacineCountyEye.com, and I need them to sign up for our free email newsletter, primarily because that means you don't have somebody else determining what stories you see and what you don't. But to your point, as far as the misinformation piece of it, that is something I'm seeing the Raymond group. So there are actually two groups that are kind of competing around storytelling around what's happening in Raymond. And one is a closed group and the other one is an open group. And I see misinformation coming from both sides of that piece. And I don't know that some of it I think is intentional, some of it is not. I mean, calling the principal a pedophile when he has not been convicted nor accused of pedophilia is an issue. Also, you've got people.
See, if you did that or a newspaper did that.
That's a libel.
Right, then it's a libel problem. Yeah. But when somebody does it on Facebook, they get away with it.
Right. And so there's a level of responsibility that journalism has. And I'm not saying that we get every single thing right, because I'm a human and sometimes I do get things wrong. And we work really hard to use the best practices that are in our industry that guide us. And so there's this mediation process. And so you have a sender and a receiver. And so I have a responsibility to make sure that my information is accurate at that time that I'm publishing it. I also have an obligation to update things. So those are things that I'm always struggling with as a journalist, but also I feel very strongly that audience needs to have responsibility too in the things they're posting on the internet as well. So like when when I was talking earlier about the superintendent, the finances of Raymond School, one of the things that came out was that the superintendent that has resigned had put numbers in the wrong places in the budget, right? And so this was interpreted as misappropriating money, which is not an accurate statement because he's not been convicted, nor has any allegation been made. Could that happen? Yes. Has it happened right now? No. And the nuance of story and storytelling is so important, especially in the context of political discourse on social media, because there are consequences of not only me as somebody, as a human being who has a Facebook page, okay, but also me as a journalist, as a business owner, because I have libel insurance and I don't want to use it, right? Because I have an obligation to my people, to my readers, to everyone, to make sure that my stories are factual, right?
Now, the Supreme Court is going to make a decision about social media. Do they have the protection that newspapers have, where they have freedom of the press, freedom of speech, so much, with the newspapers, or do they not have that protection on social media? And that's these are things that we're going to have to deal with because there are more and more sites coming up. You got Trump's Truth Social, which is just a one-sided, lopsided type of social media post. There's no opposing opinions on that thing. Then you've got I'm sure there are left-wing ones as well, which, is kind of lopsided. So the Supreme Court's going to have to make a decision.
Well, I also think as a consumer, and I think it also comes down to the reader and the viewer, as well as the responsibility of what is truth to you, right? But also knowing, so if I report out that it's raining here, okay, and it is not raining where you are, is that a lie or is that the truth? Well, that was, if I'm doing the things that journalism does, I make sure that I say the place and time so that it's clear as to where it is raining and where it is not. So if it's raining in Racine and Kenosha counties at 2 p.m., that's a much more specific way to write it than saying it's raining here. So be here means that I'm talking about where I am as the author and the authority. And so that's what journalism teaches you, is to be responsible for your writing. And it is not an easy political cycle, I can tell you, and there are some big consequences to not valuing accurate information. And so, truth changes, right?
Well, but these groups have fact checkers.
Correct.
Now, Twitter got rid of all their fact checkers. They don't have them anymore. They're gone.
I mean, X.
X, whatever,
X,
Twitter,
X.
X, Z, ZY, whatever he wants to call it this week. It's so hard to change the name of a product that everybody knows.
Right.
It's like changing, when Tylenol had that big scare with the, remember the tampered Tylenol things?
Right.
Back in the 80s or whatever it was, people were tampering with it, putting poison in there. Tylenol said, we can't change the name of the product. We've got to just make it better and advertise it as more, sealed now. So they couldn't even change the name of Tylenol because it's Tylenol.
Right.
It's like a generic name, Tylenol. It's not acetaminophen or something like that is a generic name for it. But people use it's like Kleenex. Got a Kleenex? Kleenex is a brand name. Band-Aid's a brand name. Anyway, so they interviewed some of these fact checkers, and their job is they fact check the fact, and then they contact Facebook and all these organizations and say, you got to either get rid of this or label it.
Yeah.
And they're paying less and less attention to them because people don't want that. I don't know when they drag up Zuckerberg before a congressional committee.
Oh, see, and a lot of that originated. Those lawsuits originated here. Okay. And so I think it's interesting, and that's actually going to have some decisions if it hasn't happened already. And so you have to forgive me a little bit because I've been working on doing some grant funding, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Do we need to roll up? Or you do?
What's
Should
that?
I keep going?
What's that technical term you just said?
Roll up? I don't know.
I don't know that.
I have not had coffee, friend.
I know. It's all coming back to me. Every one of your problems this morning is coming back to me and that coffee.
I know.
I could have sworn we had coffee cups here because we did. See, now I got to find out who took them.
I know.
There's got to be a public flogging in front of the building. We'll get one of the, those things they have where you stick your head and the arms in. Remember in the old 1600s, they used to put people in the town square.
Right.
And people threw tomatoes at them. We're going to get one out there in front of our building. Denise Lockwood is here from Racine County Eye at 749 WRJN Radio. 6:03 at WRJN Radio. Denise Lockwood is here from Racine County Eye. You had some good fortune recently.
I did. I'm
Yes.
so excited. So,
And it had nothing to do with coffee.
It didn't. I think we kind of need to let that go, friend. I'm sorry. It's all on me now. So one of the things that, as an owner of a news website, I am always looking for: how do we fund journalism? How do we make sure that the really strong investigative journalism gets told? Is we apply for grants. And so there's a journalism school down in Florida called the Poynter. I think it's just called Poynter now. It used to be called the Poynter
I
Institute.
think it's spelled with a Y.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
I
yep.
know
It's
that word.
fabulous. It actually, there's a lot of history between the reason why I do what I do is because of Poynter, because 20 years ago or so, I went to a boot camp there to retool my whole career because I was just trained as a print person and the industry was changing, and so there was a movement back in 2008, actually it wasn't quite 20 years ago, to retrain a lot of us just typers and make us some more digital and savvy on the internet. So one of the things that we just did was we applied for a grant to start looking at how the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan, and there's a Reinvestment Act that was passed by the federal government. A lot of millions and millions of dollars were spent in the Racine County area. So we want to track and we want to look at this through the lens of housing in Racine County because it's such a huge impact of how much we spend on housing and rent and homelessness. It's all very much aligned in what we have available to stabilize the county. So if you're looking at the data, about 75% actually of the houses built in Racine were built prior to 1980. And so this is the first time that this money is being spent to actually build houses, rehab houses. So there are big questions that need to be asked around, like, how was it spent? Where are we at with the process? What is the return on investment? And what are some of the challenges and success stories that come out of that? So that's one of the things. We got a $10,000 grant, which will pay for quite a few freelance people. So I'm super happy about that.
And I'm happy for you.
Me too.
You try to do good things, and you're not one of the big giants like Gannett. You're not like the old Pulitzer newspapers of the early 1900s.
Right.
You're not the New York Times. You're not the Wall Street Journal. You're the Racine County Eye.
Correct.
You're just keeping an eye on the neighborhood for us.
Yeah, I'm working really well. And we also started this thing called Sip and Savor, which is a video series around like restaurants in southeastern Wisconsin. And our good friend Corey Sebastian, she owns Sebastian's Restaurant. She's the host for that. And so she's been doing a fabulous job. And shout out to a fellow by the name of Matt Benetti, who puts it all together. Matt is a fabulous videographer, and the two of them do a fabulous job. So go visit that too, because we're putting a lot of energy into it.
Just keep an eye on everything for us. You know, there's a thing at the end of the movie The Burbs. I don't know if you ever saw that with Tom Hanks, The Burbs. One of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched that more than any other movie I've ever seen. And at the end, when the whole neighborhood is on fire because of this, it's a whole comedy. But anyway, he says to Corey Feldman, he says, keep an eye on the neighborhood for us. He goes, I will. And that's what I did. Keep an eye on the neighborhood for us, okay? We need somebody watching our politicians. We need somebody watching our school boards. We need somebody. You got to keep an eye. If you don't keep an eye on these people, they run wild.
Right.
And they got to be held accountable. I mean, think if two little reporters from the Washington Post didn't investigate Richard Nixon, we would never have known.
Or show up to that court hearing, right? So, the boring stuff can get real exciting real quick, right?
If they, just, you got to nosy around a little bit. Like Lois Lane, nosy reporter.
That would be me.
Jimmy Olsen, Snoopy reporter. Denise Lockwood, thank you.
It was fabulous.
Thank you. Next time we'll have coffee cups here, I promise. All right, I'm Don Rosen. Thank you for joining us here today. And we'll back again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Jim Mercier and Carol Gianforte reminiscing about Racine. They're here tomorrow morning, 7:06 at WRJ, and I'll see you at 6 a.m. bright and early, all right?